Welcome to Late Night Gaming. I'm Poem. I'm with McBobber, Woo, Loopy, and Solo. And we're going to be looking at some new Star Wars Unlimited cards that got spoiled. Lots of stuff to talk about. It's been a few weeks since we did one of these. Our first card here is Tarkin Town, a aggression base, an epic action that says deal 3 damage to a damaged non-leader unit. What do you think about this one, Woo?
So it feels a little weaker than the other two we've gotten, but I also still just think it's better than the like regular base, which for me basically makes it an auto include if you're ever using a red base. So it's like free value on it. It's solid.
All right, does anybody have a different opinion than Woo there on Tarkin Town?
I just think Tarkin Town is extremely helpful. Um, as the neighborhood Vader player, it definitely helps deal with problem units
Yeah,
that would.
take down leaders, hit them a little bit, clean them up. Oh,
Yeah,
non-leaders,
it,
Does
it
not
non-leaders,
it does not kill them.
non-leaders. Okay.
but it combos well with like damage from hand cards. So like, one of the combos I love is open fire with that battlefield
Mm.
can that's 7 damage to a unit like Han, or it's very helpful. So I like
All right. What about this next one? Let's see if this is as helpful as the previous. It's a 4 cost card, dual aggression. It says choose 2 in any order or draw a card, defeat up to 2 upgrades, ready a unit with 3 or less power, and deal 4 damage to unit. Loopy, what do you think about this aggression card?
Well, draw a card, it can replace itself. And then with the upgrades, that can include shield tokens, that can include experience. So I think that part of it is a little bit better. I don't think it's as strong as Commander Vigilance.
Yeah. You're happy to see this one if you've got, if you're up against like a blue hero or something, they got some lightsaber or some shield. Definitely not as good as Command. Anybody else got anything to add about this card?
I mean, I'll just say if you're playing mono red, you're gonna play this. It's like it's strong at 4. It's not like game breaking, but if there's enough pull for mono red, then this will make the cut.
Right. If we've got some stronger opinions about this next card, Change of Hearts, a 6 cost. Cunning. Take control of a non-leader unit at the start of the regroup phase. Its owner takes control of it. I guess I could talk about this card. Um, yeah, I like that it's like a expensive big card that can kind of like come in and like do something very strong in the late game, try to help you to kind of that finisher. Um, I'm not sure if it's gonna end up being like as that something I put in all my decks necessarily. Like it is very expensive, but maybe it's like a 1 or 2 of, like maybe even a 1 of, like have it in your deck and you draw it, great. If not, that big of a deal. But it could, in a situation, correct situation, it could win you time to time. It's interesting that it's a legendary card. Um, Anybody else want to chime in on Change of Heart?
I'll chime in on it
uh
being legendary. I think that's unfortunate. It means we're going to have at least, what, 16 legendaries, I think, in the game? That's a lot of boxes you're going to need to buy if you want to get everything.
Yeah.
Or singles if you're WoW. If you're I don't know why you only buy singles if you're trying to get a whole playset of the game. Like that doesn't seem like those two things gel together,
Oh,
but
I never try to get a whole playset of the game when I play card games. Just the deck I want.
Yeah.
okay. So I feel like the whole singles argument is kind of a moot point because it's always the argument's always about like getting a whole playset. So those are just two separate like mindsets, I think.
Yeah, I think the ship has sailed on people trying to get complete playsets of this game. Expensive.
Yeah, this game's crazy expensive as far as I can tell.
I think it's going to be like figuring out what your deck, have a deck or two kind of thing. if you have a tournament coming up, buying those. Yeah, like, having a lot of the commons and uncommons, and then just buying the legendaries you need for your deck.
I don't think enough hype is. I haven't read much about this card getting a lot of hype, but I think it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, situationally, it's powerful.
I think the power in this card is in the mind games it's going to put on your opponent. But at the same time, I think it just depends on what your deck leans on. Like if your closers are ground units, you're scared to death of this card. But if your closer's a leader unit, then you're not as scared.
It's going to win a lot of games because it ideally says destroy 2 units on the other side if they have 2 ground units that can kill each other.
Yeah, it's interesting. You got to be wary now of like ground units that have more attack than health. Then they can get just like turned against each other. All right, what about the Cantina Braggart? The 1-cost aggression unit, 0/3 with a raid 2. Solo, what are your thoughts about the Braggart?
I mean, this is the card that defines aggro. Honestly, it's like this. I guess for now it's the standard. Like 1 cost. When it swings, it does damage. Can combo with IG. It's just the standard. It's not crazy. Oh my god, amazing. But I think it's just this is what listening to conversations with McBobber and Wu, them saying like, "Hey, this is aggro. We're gonna rush you down with cheap characters, and that's it."
Anybody want to add anything else about the Braggart?
Well, I hope I don't have to play this in my red decks. It's doesn't. I don't like cards that do nothing. Like this card will just get traded in, like not traded into something. It's just gonna get killed for free. It's
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this card really is affected by who goes first. Like if you go first and you play like a Viper Probe Droid or something, and then they drop this, and then you can just trade into this, and it's never even had a chance to attack, then it feels bad. But like if you go first and you play this card, then you get to use it, then they kill it or something, then it's like, oh, it doesn't feel as bad. I don't know. Are you gonna say something, Loopy?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to make the cut much. I mean, I think that was exactly right. A lot of times you're going to play it and it's going to die doing no damage and accomplishing nothing.
how much damage do you think it needs to do before you're comfortable playing this card? Like if you knew it dealt 2, you still probably wouldn't want it, right? So it needs to attack twice to like be worth it. And that's like where I start getting a little weary of it being useful.
A little funky. I think it's just comboing with the other aggression cards, like the one we're about to see. 3 cost Fighters for Freedom. It's a 3/4 rebel, trooper, saboteur, and here's the big thing with this card is when you play another aggression card, you may deal 1 damage to a base. And McBobber, what do you think about the Fighters for?
I think they're pretty good. If you're playing an aggression heavy deck and your hero, this probably goes in there. It's very dangerous, that ability. That could potentially be a lot of damage. So then anytime you got a card where the opponent basically has to kill it as soon as possible, it's something worth looking at. I don't think that's what this is.
I think it also kind of rises and falls with mono red support or double red support. I mean, if you can play, a bunch of cards that, with aggression or with doubles and then have a deck that's all red and hero, this is looking solid.
Yep.
Got all the traits, got the rebel. I mean, saboteur. It basically has sentinel. Like you have to kill it. Super good. Card seems crazy. Yeah. If I was playing aggression more, I would. I think when there's more aggression cards, I'm gonna. The Homestead Militia 3 cost was his command. The 3/4 Fringe Trooper, and it's got, while you control 6 more resources, it gets Sentinel. Woo, what do you think about the militia?
It's like fine, really. It's filler. I
It's
could
a
see it
draft
being a
card,
little
right?
useful in some like in some decks right now, but mostly I see it as like a draft card. It's okay. It's not bad, and it's like playable right now with the pool we have in some decks. It doesn't seem to have any good traits on it, and like it's really not doing anything until later in the game when it has Sentinel. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think this card really depends on how much you're ramping, and like it buys you time. That's how I see it. Like this card is here to buy more time if you need it. If you're trying to get to the 9-cost Relentless, it's going to buy you more time. So if your deck's not trying to buy time, you're not playing this. I just think though, as more cards come out, it's just not going to make the cut because early you're resourcing it.
There's certain decks that are like just will take all the Sentinel they can get, you know? Like they're trying to keep some guy alive that does some crazy thing. Like, you know, the Bobo leader, like every time I attack I get 2 resources. Like I'm really incentivized to like make it difficult on my opponent to kill that guy. Like I can see a spot for this dude. I just don't like his traits. Not having Imperial attack weak right now. He's not in, but maybe Fringe will get some Horde or Troopers.
Fringe card.
What was that?
Fringe card.
Yeah, it's a Fringe card. Yeah, exactly. What
Now,
about?
I mean, if there's a deck that like looks for Fringe and does something substantial, maybe it plays. Otherwise, I don't think you'll see it in constructed.
What about the Wampa? It's a 4-cost aggression, 4/5 creature with Overwhelm. Loopy, what do you think about that one?
Just makes me want to give the Wampa a lightsaber.
Yeah, why's that?
I think it's got Overwhelm. I think it's good for aggro, and a good for a deck that's increasing the creature's traits.
Yeah, Overwhelm can be sneaky if you can just ambush it in or something, and then like he'll kill a guy and then hit the base and just kind of keep pushing damage. Anybody have any other thoughts on the Wampa?
I mean, Inquisitor loves this guy. I mean, he just gets to beat him up and keep making him punch you. Especially if he gets the dang Fallen Saber.
Inquisitor doesn't trigger him because it's power 3 or less, right?
Oh, okay.
Inquisitor's good with that Cantina Braggart, not so much with the Wampa.
This looks like
Forgive me.
filler, like the card right next to it. In a sense, I see it also as like a draft, like a good draft playable.
Yeah.
It's like Chowan Yeti from Hearthstone. It's the same stats. It's a Yeti equivalent. It feels like there's a reference there.
Crap. They got power crap. They gave it trample.
Yeah.
What's the effect called in Hearthstone?
Was that card playable in Hearthstone? The Yeti?
In draft, yeah, it was fantastic in draft.
In draft it was, but
the stats are good in draft.
I mean, they power corrupt Yeti in Hearthstone too, eventually with other cards, but yeah, it was always a staple, and you always saw it because it was in draft.
Oh, now we're getting up to the real stuff here. Let's be honest. And this one's Bosk, the Deadly Stalker. And he's a cunning villainy 4/5 Underworld Bounty Hunter with Ambush. When you play an event, you can deal 2 damage to unit. This is my turn to talk first. And, you know, as the resident, I mean, not the resident, but one of the players that plays a lot of command, cunning with my Boba Fett deck, I find this guy to be kind of shaking up my mindset with my deck. Like, he doesn't have the traits I like. He doesn't have the Imperial. Like, I don't usually play a lot of events, but like, he does seem very, very strong. He's like, you know, somebody that you really need to consider and understand that he's in the game and try to like think about like, with him in mind. So yeah, I haven't really figured out how he fits in with what I've been trying to do, but I'm interested in trying to see if I can get this guy to work out. Does anybody else want to chime in on Bosk? Or we all got something to say on this guy?
He makes me want to build a mono yellow villain deck, but we don't have the cunning card yet to encourage that. But I just like there's so much that you can build around with Bosk that it's fun.
Man,
He's just a good card.
you just said something important. Like the cunning card with boss is gonna feel so offensive. Feel it. I just feel it when you play boss and then you play the cunning after that. Oof.
Anybody else
I
got
think boss is
something
a
to say?
staple.
Lou, you got an opinion about Bosk?
Yeah, man, I love this card. I also play Boba a ton, and yellow is my favorite aspect in general. Like that, and this just fits exactly with like everything you want to do. It's a fantastic tempo play. It's like Callus levels of tempo, and I was already incredibly high on Callus. So. And
He's
yellow does have the most powerful events in the game right now, and they're the cheapest events in the game. So you can sometimes even like get a couple in. So like if you can trigger this a few times and like kill multiple things with it.
yeah, almost like a build around. Like you need maybe give him the sentinels around him and just keep him on the board and just be playing events for 2 or 3 rounds before they can finally get to him.
He's such a good sniper. He can take out TIE fighters. You know, other low health units are susceptible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this guy's a big deal. We're gonna be seeing a lot of this guy coming up.
Yeah, we
here.
haven't actually played with it yet because it came out like an hour ago.
Yeah, we haven't really had a chance to really build. I mean, maybe McBobber built some decks. I haven't. All right, we got Lando. He's a 6 cost responsible businessman, 6'5", fringe official with Saboteur. When played, you may return 2 friendly resources to their owner's hands. Loopy, do you like the Lando?
I like that he has synergy with Han. I mean, I think that's where he plays. Probably nowhere else.
What is the synergy with Han?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I mean, the timing doesn't work, Loopy, with like the cards that Han's making with his ability, like that can't get returned to your hand or something. Like it doesn't really work with.
Well, I'm talking more about returning, you know, stuff that you dump there to your hand.
But you still have to sacrifice the resources, right? So there's nothing Han specific. Like
Yeah, like if you make resources with Han, and then you can draw those with Lando, but then you have to still defeat other resources that you have, so you don't necessarily like gain anything. It's just maybe if you're trying to find a certain card. People have been saying like his ability is just like in the late game, if you resource an expensive card early on and you want to be able to like, you know, on turn 6, like go and pick up a, you know, or on your 6 resource turn, pick up another 6 resource card or something and be able to play that the next turn. That's why he's valuable. Is like card draw basically. That's I think how I would play him, is like playing him, drawing a single card and then being able to play another 6 cost card as opposed to a 7. I'm exchanging like 1 power level of, or 1 cost for the card I'm going to play next round for just being able to have that card in my hand.
This is purely speculation, but there'll probably be a card that maybe lets you play a card from your deck as a resource that Lando can pull. That's not Han's trigger, so
Maybe. Huh.
that's speculation though.
I see it mostly as a top end for a really low curve aggressive deck, where you just like play them and then draw 2 cards that you can play next turn, like low curve cards.
I like that.
Like Sabine yellow. Like you normally wouldn't even want to go up to 6 resources, but this gives you like an out for actually playing your resources down and then just drawing them afterwards.
That's good. That's a good idea. Yeah, I like that.
It's when you're playing cheap cards, inexpensive cards. That's your deck build. You're just trying
cheap
to
cards
spam
and
guys.
Lando, right? So
Yeah.
you like resource a bunch until you get to him, play him, and then draw 2 cards that you like to. Yeah, that's how I'm
Oh,
seeing it.
that actually makes perfect sense because if you are aggro deck and you're just trying, because at a certain point in the game, your opponent, like, they're only drawing those 2 cards every turn, so essentially you're getting 2 more cards than them. So it's just it adds to the destruction, the aggro. So I agree with you, Wu. Like, I definitely think this is an aggro type of.
Saboteur also is good for getting through like the Sentinels. That might be roadblocking your little guys. I don't know. It's a theory. Haven't really
Oh
played
no,
with it much yet.
I think
but
he's going to end up
I
being
like it
better
as
than
is.
people think. Is
Yes.
my speaking of theories. Like you said, in an aggro deck, like he could just give you the gas you need, the cards, slam it.
Because Lando just kind of one shots the next guy, right?
Well, let's talk about the next guy. We've got Count Dooku, Darth Tyrannus, 7 cost. He's a Vigilance Villainy, Force Separatist Sith, shielded. When played, you may deal defeat a unit with 4 or less remaining HP. Solo, do you want to talk about this guy?
I will promise not to take too much because there's just a lot to talk about with him. Because what can you not say about this guy? I mean, he's great. He's a Force user. And he is. I'm gonna just leave it that because I know a lot of people want to jump on this. He
Yeah.
is perfectly and thematically made because Dooku's fighting style is literally defense. Like, his defense is almost impenetrable.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why you play him and he's already got a shield. That's going to frustrate a lot of Vader players because right now Vader doesn't have any answers for shields outside of just beating them down.
McBauer, what are your thoughts on Dooku? You want to chime in?
I like Dooku. He seems like he's doing a lot. He obviously is a little expensive, but it's hard to imagine you don't get like at least 2 for 1 on this guy, maybe even 3 for 1, because like he comes in, he kills the guy, then he's got the shield. It's even more trouble to deal with. It just takes a lot of resources to get rid of it. It seems like.
Yeah, it seems like the best way to get rid of a Dooku is with another Dooku.
Yep.
or a takedown. Blue has a lot of cards that kill low health units, so outside of Vanquish, though, they don't have much that like deals with big stuff.
Card just seems so good. Just
Is
giving
blue
you
the
so, it's giving you
antithesis
so
for
much.
aggro? Is Vigilance the anti to aggro? Like, it's the counter?
Yeah, like
I guess
kind
it's
of, yeah.
defensive.
It's like healing your base and things like that, and that's what there's.
It's control, basically.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Let's talk about this Disabling Fang Fighter. This is kind of control-y. It's got the 3 cost aggression. It's a 3/2 Mandalorian vehicle fighter, and when played, you may defeat an upgrade. Wu, did you want to talk about this one?
I think it's pretty decent. I mean, it's just another 3 cost, 3 power space unit in red, which is really nice to just have like more spaceships in red. You got a little bit of upside there if you can knock something down that has an upgrade. Just like solid card.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in on the Disabling Fang Fighter? Yeah,
Vader
Go
cries.
Dooku shield.
I think you're starting to get some pretty solid aggression ships. They're really owning the space arena. Sure. I don't like that he's not Imperial. Again, I think that's going to end up being problematic. So it might end up just being a draft card.
I mean, Vader hates this card, so
Yeah.
like you can sneaky kill Vader like put like 5-6 damage into him. Even if he has like a fallen lightsaber, just play the Fang Fighter, destroy the upgrade, and he dies. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
it's
know.
definitely something. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good.
It's definitely something Vader players have to account for now. Like when you're playing red against red, because your health is not what you think it is.
Yeah, I wonder if some of those control decks that we've seen saw like a red blue Vader or something like that. Baxter was playing on the stream. Was that red blue? I wonder if this might go in there. You know, just kind of help him defeat shields, help him defeat upgrades on. You know, just kind of controlling the board. It might be a constructed playable card. It's on the fringe. About the Millennium Falcon, it's a 3-cost cunning heroism 3/4 underworld vehicle transport. It enters play ready, but when you ready cards are in the regroup phase, you have to pay 1 or return it to your hand. McBobber?
I mean, this card's pretty clearly good. It enters play ready, so you can hit the base right away, or kill other units. But I feel like usually you're hitting the base. It combos well with the Han leader, since you can. The resource he gives you is the one you can exhaust before it bounces. So, yeah, this is it just does a lot for the cost. 3/4 for 3 it's good.
Are you playing
You
it?
have to keep paying that tax though.
Are you playing it outside of a Han deck?
I think if you're aggro, probably. But for like a control deck long term, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, we don't really have like a more controlling hero cunning build yet that I've seen that I like. So
If you have this in your opening hand and you have like let's say an Ezra in your opening hand, you're playing as Han, which card are you putting down?
probably the Falcon.
Really? It seems like there's different ways to play Han. Like you can play Han where you're just trying to maybe like get your turn 1 card and then you're not using his ability anymore. In which case this would not be that great. Like you just use his ability like, you know, to on that turn that to get to 7 to be able to play your Mace Windu or whatever. But if you're playing this, it seems like you need to plan to play a resource every turn with Han. And so you need to have, you know, to get value out of his ability and the synergy with the Falcon. In which case you would need to be generating card draw somehow. And I don't know if right now we have enough card draw built into the game to really make that strategy work. I think Han would need to like eat. And he doesn't really have enough food. Like you have prepare for takeoff or whatever. And that ship that draws you 2 cards if you have initiative or something. Just like not.
I don't think it needs to be only a Han thing, like a low curve, like aggro hero deck will just want this. It's like above rate. It's going to demand an answer, at which point you're unlocking your resource, right? Opponent can't just leave this and play to tank damage every turn.
I think I would just disagree that this is a card that is playable outside of. It seems like a dumpster fire card. Like it just seems terrible outside.
I mean, you have to, bro. Listen, you have to respect the fact that it comes in ready. Like I don't care in any game, anything that just comes in ready is good. It's good in a game.
Everybody's high on this thing. The tax, you know, unless you're getting some sort of synergy with Han, to me, just impressive.
Let me ask you this. You find me something better in this game that you're playing early. Find me something. I'll argue you. You're not going to find it for at least 3 turns. This is better than most things you can play.
You're not going to, unless you're using Han, you're not getting it on turn 1 anyways. So it's not like it's coming in like right away and like going crazy. And like early in the game, like resources matter more or worth more than later in the game. Like you guys have played card games, you understand that concept. And so like early game, you're paying this tax just seems just terrible. No, unless it's like you're getting some other synergy. Anyhow, that's just my take on it. I think it's a Han
I
a
mean-
Han card.
But here's the thing, though. You don't have to pay the tax. Using the card, tacking for 3, and it coming back to your hand is still good.
You're not gonna win the game that way. You are not gonna win with that strategy.
It sets precedence on you. It's like a timer. It's like you start the game 3 to your base. Or not start the game. Turn 2 if you're not playing Han, 3 to the base. You know how many people don't do any damage to the base turns 1 and 2? Like, you're ahead. You put yourself ahead. And so you don't have to pay the tax. And then you're putting a card back in your hand, which if you don't need the ship anymore, resource it.
Just put this in your Leia deck and just let's face off. Let's have a great old time. Please.
Okay.
What about the smuggling compartment? It's a 1-cost cunning attached to a vehicle unit. Attached unit gains on attack, ready a resource. And it gives you 1/1 stats. Loopy, what do you think of the compartment?
I mean, if you're trying to do aggro with yellow in your deck, you know, and there's enough vehicles there, maybe.
Okay. Woo, we've tried this thing. How's it going?
Not well. This card doesn't do anything yet. I've tried it in so many different decks, and it always ended up phased out as a resource because I could never like figure out a turn where it made sense to play it. It's like so awkward. Also, the readying a resource ability on it. When I first read it, I thought it was going to be a lot stronger. But in this game, you have to actually like spend resources first, and then your opponent gets an action, right? So I have to have this in play, then I have to play a card to exhaust some resources. I need to somehow not have my thing killed. Then I need to attack with it to ready. It's a lot of steps. It's a lot of steps.
Yeah. Doesn't really help with consistency. But it is maybe a build around kind of thing. Like if we get more cheap ships or something, you just kind of throw these on there. Cheap ships and card draw, and you can just kind of slam smuggling compartments on your ships and just there's a whole deck can do that in the future. Options.
Maybe they make Hera, and every time you play an upgrade on a ship, she draws you a card.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing. Sign me up. All right, well we did it, guys. Yeah, how are you guys feeling about where the game's at right now?
Love it.
It's pretty impressive that, and I'm gonna throw dirt on Lorcana. That Lorcana is a full set and a half in, because we're talking about spoilers here, and it's still not better than this game that hasn't even reached 50% yet of spoiled cards for its first.
It might be 50%, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. It seems like it's been make some pretty playable decks with not even a full play set of the first. Pretty remarkable. All right, I think we'll go ahead and end it there. And if you guys made it this far, you're my hero.
Peace.
Thanks for watching.